Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 18th, 2021 at approximately 2:44 p.m. PST. Over the course of the last week, we have covered the following topics. Thought, choice. Going under success, we've dealt with purpose, plan, persistence, patience. Then, just yesterday, we covered the issue of creativity. Today, we are going to cover the topic of foundation. How does all of this come together to lay the groundwork for you to become the person you desire to be? Now, the reality is you are the only entity in existence that can be successful for you. Freedom of choice is the birthright of every individual in creation. Every entity out there. Now, all the tools in the world can be offered to you. If you don't pick them up, they're not going to work for you. Now, I encourage you to go back, especially to the last 7 days. Okay, especially in the last 7 days, because we cover each of these topics in detail. Now, where it comes to foundation, everything we've been talking about over the last week has been to lay the groundwork so that you can get your feet on the right footing, so you can actually alter your life into what you consider a better world. Okay, now this works. The one massive message that I return to bring to people, to everybody in existence, is that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. There will certainly be the abnormalities, the individuals that figure the only way that they will be happy is if everybody else around them is either bowing down to them or doing exactly what they say. Now, frankly, this doesn't work well for me. I was never a good one for following rules. Laws, yes. And the critical factor here where it comes to law is I follow 3 in specific, and fortunately those 3 cover the written laws of the country in which I'm living, which happens to be Canada in this case. But the 3 karmic laws that I follow are: be true to yourself first, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. If you follow those 3 laws, then working together with the people around you, with the entities in existence around you that you've got contact with, we can make this a better world for most people. Now, this is the thing that I personally am asking for assistance with. Okay, and that is to take this message and spread it out to everybody you know. And then what I mean by that is not just the ones with video. I mean, take this same message and verbally pass it on to the people that don't have access to video. By doing this, we can take this whole fiasco that we're living under right now, and we can alter it. Now, I've talked to you in a prior video, probably a couple months back now, about something called Feng Shui. Okay, and how, although you cannot destroy energy, you can redirect it, and therefore you can guide it where you require it. Now, I've been going through a lot of work, a lot of effort to put my office in order, because these tools that I offer you are the exact same tools I use for me. Okay. Now, the foundation that we're talking about is getting your working area, your living area, into a stable pattern so that you're content with it. Okay, now, like I said, I can offer you all the tools in the world. Everybody can offer you tools. If you don't pick said tools up, you're not going to make any functional headway. That's just the reality. You know, it's kind of like the idea of walking. If you don't pick one foot up after the other, you're not walking anywhere. It's just not going to happen. Now, these little figures that I work with, okay, are the foundation for a lot of things. Now, the neat part about it is I had a client today that I actually had to use these. Now, these are just fantasy figures because of the fact I play Dungeons and Dragons. But it's amazing to me how how these different figures that I work with can be crossed over, and they work with me for my gaming, for playing Dungeons and Dragons, for writing, for working out the choreography in some of the detailed fights that I write about, and as it turns out, for helping people deal with potential alien abductions or the abnormal that they've seen in their life. Understanding I've been doing this since I was 10. That's when it became public knowledge. Now, my life is very much it's more akin to science fiction than anything else. But when we talk about putting a foundation, however you got to where you are, you're in the exact same place as everybody else. You are right here, right now, and this is the only time in existence that you can actually alter the path your life is on. If you're not content with the way your life is going, doesn't matter what the aspect, pick one thing that you're not content with. Okay, put it on paper and go, this needs to change. This I've got to clear up. Okay, now remember, you're doing this for you. Because I will tell you, it doesn't matter how many people tell you something needs to be changed, or something requires a change. If you don't feel it here, you're not going to likely be doing anything about it. Now, sometimes you'll change something in your life to appease somebody else. But I will tell you, even when you do that, if you're not getting the message and taking it to heart for you, that change will be temporary. Okay, hence why I've got a list of things I'm working on here. These are the different tasks that I've got to work on today. Okay, now this extra little list is the different videos I've been working on. Okay, and therefore I've got my next 2 weeks in videos all laid out. I know exactly what they're going to be. And to give you a little bit of a heads up, the next week, well, actually a week and a half here, almost 2 weeks. Today we're covering foundation. Tomorrow we'll cover expansion, then community, then self-awareness, prosperity, determination, awareness, understanding, and wisdom. Okay, this is the path we're going on. Once we've covered those, we will get into dealing with a couple of requests that were made. And I will be talking about some of the old gaming systems that I used to play. Okay, some of the ones I'm still playing. And then somebody asked me to give a movie review on some of the movies I've watched, of the ones that I recommend people take a look at regarding alien races. After that, I'm going to take a look at how energy itself works. Okay, I think I've covered that one before. Okay, and then we'll take a look at some other odds and ends. The last one I've currently got on the list is some of my views on the way investing works. Now understand, I am not a millionaire by any functional stretch. But I do have I've already got the schematics worked out in my head and a little bit on paper for taking my company Inner Voice Enterprises, from a sole proprietorship to a mega corporation with many departments, with a complete healing center set in place. Now, I've already got it all worked out. I do not have the money to do it. But I also know that, much like spreading word that this is possible, which is really what ultimately I return to do, okay, by working together, we can make a healing center where people actually go in, they figure out how to get their bodies working, they figure out how to get their minds working, where they can actually heal. Not a holding tank where people sit back and wait to die. The reality is, that's another thing everybody has in common. We build a foundation. You've got a life, you've lived however you've lived it. Whether it's been nice or bad, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you've been. The reality of it is, you are going to, at some point, die. Now, since we can agree, I'm pretty certain that everybody dies. I've known of two people that didn't exactly. But that said, it depends on your definition of death. We've got this foundation laid out, and no matter what foundation you laid out, the other thing we all have in common is we are going to die. Now, personally, I've tried, well, let's see. I've experienced death by fever, by poison, by, let's see, by drug addiction, by drowning, by heart failure. Okay, so all in all, I've had a fair chunk of experience with it. I don't feel like trying out a new one. Okay, I suspect eventually I'll have to die of old age, but we're going to see what we can do about that. What I am doing right now is I've got this foundation. One of the biggest things that I had to get right was my mindset. And that is the one big thing with the mindset and the big kicker to the foundation is this. That funny little sign over there that says, I am worth it. Take it to heart. You get that straight, you can take the world that is what it is for you, and you can alter it. You're willing to put the energy into changing things to make somebody else happy. How about if we do something really bizarre and do something to make you happy? Now, when I offer tools to anybody, if those tools apply to me, I make absolutely certain I'm putting them to use. Hence why I've got the list here. I've got my financial guideline over here, which means as soon as I get done this, I'm going to be dealing with that. Which also means tomorrow you won't be able to see that sign because, frankly, it'll be sitting over here. Okay. And push comes to shove, I will simply glue it there. As a matter of fact, or not glue it, but tape it. Just wondering. Since I don't know where it is, I'm going to leave it that way. But I will be moving it today because I desire it moved. Now, the thing is, when we talk about putting a foundation in, take a look at the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Okay, over in Italy. They didn't have a solid foundation. Now, in fairness to the people back then, they didn't know they didn't have a solid foundation. They thought it was ground. So they built the first third of it, and then they left it sit for a number of decades. Then they came back, and several decades later, possibly a couple of centuries, I really don't recall. I remember the second floor being built. Okay, and that was an endeavor and a half. Okay, but they built the second floor. Well, when they went to build the second section, the first section of foundation had collapsed. So when we put the second section in, we had to compensate to bring it back to level. So one side of it got built a little higher than the other, just to level it off. And the thing then, we didn't have one of these funny little scales. You know, the scale by I don't even know what the thing is called. Level. There we go. We didn't have one of these little metal levels. What we had was a bucket with a bucket that was yay deep that we filled with water. Right? We drew a line on the bucket and we filled it with water up to that line. And that was how we made sure that the shelf was level. Okay. These old techniques still work. In all fairness, I used that same method to hang a shelf a number of years back. Right? I didn't have a level at the time, but I did know that if you take a glass of water and you draw a line on it, you take a glass and you draw a line on it. Much like this one. Okay. If you draw a line on the edge of it, and then you fill it with water, and you keep that water level with that line, you will get the shelf level. Now, understand, I am no carpenter. Okay, trades was not my strong suit in school. But when we're talking about building a foundation, we're talking about taking every tool you've got access to, every rock that you've got available to you, and laying it out one step at a time so that you've got something that you can build and evolve with. Okay, if you look at stalactites, or stalagmites rather, if you look at stalagmites, yeah, if you look at stalagmites, they build, they're a tall stone, essentially, that grows. It just constantly, it just builds up. You build a foundation and slowly it gets taller. Okay, in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I've got a tower in that called what did we actually call it? The Tower of Del Mar. Okay, now that's in the stories that I'm writing. Okay, but again, it boils down to having a foundation that you can work with. And by having that foundation, you can build whatever you desire on top of it. But remember, stick to karmic law. In other words, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If, or more to the point, when we choose to do that, as an existing society, when all entities really put the negative aside and work towards really getting the energy running smoothly and treating each other the way we desire to be treated, this world will become a much more enjoyable place. Okay, there's nothing stopping us except our own greed, ignorance, fear, and overall short-sightedness. So I'm going to ask you this. Have you got an idea in your head yet that you're ready to lay the foundation for? Now, in all fairness, the topics I've covered already, okay, are all laying everything out to get to this foundation. Okay, you've got this whole concept going on, whether it's work, whether it's a project you put on hold, whether it's just something on your bucket list. Get it focused, get it on paper that this is something you're accomplishing. The only stipulation, the only barrier there is when it comes to building a business. Okay, to purchasing a house, rather. When it comes to purchasing a house, absolutely. You take a sheet of paper, draw a rectangle on it, go, and you write, I own this house. Do not put a physical address down on which house it is. Okay. It's simply a case of here's the house that I currently own. Be as detailed in the parameters around it. How many rooms it's got, what the driveway is like, whether or not it is close to amenities, everything you feel would make your house easier or would make your house more enjoyable. Put it on paper. This is the foundation to build everything on. I knew a client a number of years ago, probably a decade and a half at this point, that every time she desired to buy something, she would carve the item out in wood. Whether it was a car, a dining room set, an entire piece of property, she would completely carve the thing out. By the time she was done carving it, she would have that item in her possession. Now that left her with this other thing. She has she's got the item in her possession that she was going after, but she's also got a little model of the same thing. Okay. So all in all, this is what we're referring to about getting a foundation in place. It is up to you to decide, I'm no longer content with my life the way it is, regardless of what anybody else tells you. That foundation, that baseline thought, is what will drive you along the road to attain the success you desire. Now, understand, I'm not the one to tell you what success is. I've seen people that go, having a house running smoothly, that's success. For me, getting this office straightened around and having it set so I can look over there and go, my painting station is completely ready to go. To me, that was successful. My replacing my car, and by the way, to the person that wished me good luck on my car, thank you very much. Got the thing. I now, instead of having a Pontiac Transport, which was a van, I now am driving an Oldsmobile Alero, which is a mid-sized car. but it works a lot better than the van did. Okay, so all in all, things are moving very nicely for me. Okay, and they can for you as well. The trick is get that foundation laid out so that you're content with what you're aiming at. So you've got a clear picture of what it is that you desire to attain. Whether it's a project, whether it's a new business, whether it's simply changing jobs. Now, this said, when it comes to changing jobs, absolutely be aware of one thing. Do not quit your current income until you have a replacement. Okay, it leads to a lot of heartache. Now, you don't need to take my word for it, but I recommend you do, or talk to other people that have made that mistake. Okay, and find a different source of income before walking out of your current one, if at all possible. If your goal is to pack up and move, okay, make the decision you're moving. Now, do not give notice you're moving until you find a place to go. But, although that does hold, if you've decided you definitely desire to move, and you've gone, I'm moving, haven't found a place yet, absolutely start packing as though you've already found a place. Put everything in boxes that you don't require. Okay? That way it pulls the energy out of the material world and enables it to go out and find your new home. Okay, these are just a couple of simple tricks, but the reality behind a foundation is this. Once you've got the foundation in place, then you can build whatever size success level you desire. Whether it is simply having your house run smoothly, building a mom and pop grocery store, building a gas station, or building a massive multinational business, or anything in between. Get it on paper. Okay, or in today's world, get it on computer. The reason I recommend paper is because, frankly, in a power outage, paper won't vanish. You won't lose access to it. These are just some of the things that I work with. Now, again, these glasses, quite frankly, in case you haven't figured it out, I'm not impressed with them. So I keep taking them off, and just making certain that I keep tabs on the time so I don't go overboard. Okay, now I made the mistake yesterday. I went to record and ran into an interesting problem. Okay, when I went to record yesterday, I had this massive complication that that the recording stopped for whatever reason. Okay, and in this case, now I'm running into a little bit of a problem because these are live recordings. I don't edit any of it. When this video is done, I will simply go back, double check I got the date right, and then post it as is with all the hiccups, all the quirks, all the shortage of breath, all of it. Okay, the problem I have right now is that I'm debating whether or not I actually already recorded one today. If I didn't, or if I did rather, then I'll probably end up scrapping this one or putting it out. I'll probably end up doing it again tomorrow. But we'll find that out shortly. If I didn't already record one today, then this one will be the one that goes up today. And I won't have to record it again. But I figure I'm only like 5 minutes away from shutting down, so it'll wait until after that to go and check. But we are talking about putting a foundation in place so you can change your life from what it is to what you desire it to be. But you're going to have to do the work. Okay, I can tell you it's possible. I can say these are the tools I've used. These are the philosophies I live by. And if you adopt them, I am absolutely certain they will work for you. Problem is, I'm not the one that has to believe it. You are. So if you haven't tested them out, and you're still struggling with finding a way to get mobilized, okay, absolutely get started on. Pick these tools up and give them a whirl. Hopefully they work for you. Okay, I am absolutely certain in my heart they will. But I would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. So remember, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, so you get access to the rest of the videos. All the videos are free. Okay, at this point, everything is free. Everything I put out there is. Okay, the only thing is, it's going to cost you effort to make it work. Now, I cannot do that for you. In all fairness, nobody can. But when I tell you a tool that I'm offering you is free and is tested and works, what that means is it's free, it's tested, and it works. There are no hidden costs, and I don't bother with this idea of wait till the end of the video and I'll tell you about it. The foundation I'm looking at is one built on one thing: honesty. I will not lie to somebody to make them feel better. It would be nice if I could on occasion. And my phone is ringing, and I don't really care. That's one of the things about a live recording, is you may be hearing that phone, but that's okay. Get the foundation laid out so you are content with it. Absolutely imperative. Okay, because once you've got the foundation, now you can build. It's like building a house. You put the foundation down, you let it set, then you can build whatever house you desire on top of it. But you do have to make certain that you've got that foundation set to handle the weight. Now, there is no substitute for a solid foundation, at least not one that I'm aware of. Okay, but don't forget, let's say you make the foundation that's only 20 feet wide, okay, 20 feet across, and you find that you're building something that requires a wider expansion. You've still got to reestablish that foundation. Okay, you've got to put the foundation under the new section in order to be able to build on it. Well, it's the same thing. Once you've laid out a project, write it down. Okay, when I started the Yldrbac Chronicles, I knew it was going to be a long project. So I laid it out. I figured out how many books it would be. All in all, it will end up being 12. But as I went along, I found out that the reference manuals I'm working on can work as a beautiful addendum to them. And there are 2 other books directly tied to the Yldrbac Chronicles and an extra storyline that takes place inside it. And I don't know what else is going to evolve as I go along. I do know that I have a foundation laid out, that I figured out what I'm aiming at. I've got a very clear picture in my head. Where it comes to these videos, the picture is this: I desire every entity in existence to get along, okay, to work together. And I'm absolutely certain that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. But the reality is, it is going to require your help. And this is why I'm asking for your assistance to spread the message from this video that working together, we can make this a better world for almost everybody. Now, as I do try and keep these to a half-hour limit, I'm going to wind down here, and I will see you again sometime tomorrow. Oh, don't forget to hit the alert button next to the subscription button to let you know when the next video comes out. And I will come back. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.